This is News Talk 980 CKNW.
I think people a little bit nervous, but the bookies are saying the big bet is on stay. And with more on this, along with his thoughts on changes to the Canada Pension Plan, I'm joined by Michael Campbell, the host of Canada's #1 rated financial show, Money Talks. Hello, Michael.
Hey, Linda.
All right, so what's the latest? Are they going to stay or leave the European Union?
Well, if you're looking at the polls, I just saw some that basically averaged out the last 6 most recent polls. They actually showed them basically dead heat tie. And then we've got a small percentage of undecided. So there, when you're looking at the bookies are much stronger toward we're going to remain in the EU. So that's where it stands right now.
Yeah, boy, there's just so many implications. And I heard you say earlier in the week that you pay really close attention to the bookies over the polls. Why?
Well, the bottom line is that there's money involved, I mean, it changes the level of accountability for individuals expressing opinions. Come on, somebody phones you up and they're doing a poll or an online poll. People can say just about anything that comes off the top of their heads, but not when you go down to a bookmaker and place money on the bet. Here's the one thing, though, I'm worried about is that, the odds can be easily manipulated, especially if you've got a big financial institution who obviously wants them to stay. Well, let's say they go place a major bet. That actually changes the odds. So I'm a little bit worried about the accuracy in this case. I mean, my favorite line out of any politician in terms of truth came from the former EU head, former Prime Minister of Belgium, Jean-Claude Juncker, who said, when things are serious, you have to lie. He said that when he was the EU president. Well, things are serious. So I'm not surprised if there's shenanigans here or however it comes out. But I think in the end, we've got to look at the voter turnout and what do those undecideds eventually decide to vote.
Huge repercussions. What do you think the main ones are?
Well, it's going to be in currencies. It already has been. It's moved. If they vote, it's really big if they vote to leave, because then the money is going to be really scrambling. It already has. It's moved into, Swiss bonds, German bonds, and U.S. bonds, all perceived to be safer at that point. And we're seeing lineups today, by the way, in news coverage of people lining up to exchange money. My bet is they're exchanging their pounds, which has had a nice little run up here. But it really depends. A lot of people placing bets that say about a week ago, 10 days ago, that they were leaving. Then we got the tragic murder of Joe Cox. That seemed to change some of the polling around. And money reversed on that one. Now it's just staying on the sidelines. So there's going to be a lot of movement. Very positive for the markets and the euro probably if they vote to remain, and the opposite, obviously, if they vote to go.
Yeah, and if they vote to go, what are the ramifications potentially for our housing market in Vancouver?
Well, again, our housing market has certainly received, foreign capital at the upper end, and you have to perceive that not as looking at somewhere to live, but as somewhere to store your money. So that just enhanced this trend. I mean, see, my big thing is that the European Union's in trouble, and as those troubles multiply, you're going to see more money coming out of Europe, and probably into the UK pound, by the way, but certainly US as being first choice, and we'll get the ripple effect after that. So there's so much happening here. And by the way, this vote doesn't end anything here. You should see the disapproval ratings in the European Union in so many countries. The growth of the anti-EU parties is really rising right now. We just saw the five-star movement in Italy, which is an anti-EU party, brand new party. It just took over the government in Rome. They crushed it in those elections. So this ain't done yet.
Oh, yeah. A lot of other countries would be looking for the exit door if this
that's true, too.
Leave,
yes.
Right?
If Britain goes, they're going to sort of give that green light to some other countries to do the same thing. I think that's one of the things that scares the heck out of the EU elites.
No kidding. So what if they vote to stay? What are the repercussions?
Well, again, I still think they've got huge problems. On the short term, I think the mishandling of the refugee problem is devastating, and that's what's fueling, I bet, a ton of that anti-EU sentiment. Longer term, you've got a failed economic model. They are not going to meet their entitlements. They have a huge sovereign debt problem. They've got massive unemployment problems and flatlining growth year after year. The UK vote is just one of the chapters along, in this book of let's see the demise of the European Union.
Yeah, well, we'll see if the bookies are right tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
So let's switch gears with the finance ministers talking about changes to the Canada Pension Plan. I stupidly thought, they're sitting down, they'll never come to an agreement, and then they did. What did you think?
Well, you had good reason to think that. I mean, this has been on the table several times before, and and it hasn't gone through. Well, they got that agreement this past week. I just think there's a few things we should note. This is another example of the sort of status quo power groups are going to present just one side of this story. This is a very complicated deal going on here. Mm-hmm. First thing is enhanced really means you're about to pay higher payroll taxes. Yep. The goal is this. Right now, the Canada Pension Plan was designed so it would cover, say, 25% of what I need in retirement. The new changes will bring it up to about a third, to 33%. Mm-hmm. Other big changes. Right now, you only pay your Canada pension proportion up to top earnings of around $55,000. That's moving more closer to $83,000 in that 9-year phase-in period. So that's one thing to get what they're doing there. Second thing is this isn't going to be good for the economy. The debate is how bad is it going to be. They're aware of that. They're trying to mitigate the damage by having things like the most a worker will pay extras like 1%. But I can tell you, a lot of the small and mid-sized businesses will not be happy. This is a straight-out payroll tax for them, and increasing taxes is hardly good for economic growth. The one thing I would caution people to do, because I just so rarely hear it, it's never about one increase. Just like in your own household budget. Yeah, you could afford to pay a little bit more on your hydro bill or something. But then you notice that, boy, you're paying more in MSP premiums. Then you're paying more at the grocery store. Well, this is the thing. We got 3 levels of government. Every one of them is taking more money out of our paycheck.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I look at when I say, what's the impact going to be on economic growth?
Yep, got a hand in every pocket.
Yeah, can I just one more thing? I know
Sure.
time's short. This is bad news for self-employed, and it's amazing. We've got 2.7 million people self-employed in this country, and you haven't heard a word about this. They pay both sides, so any increase is a double. They pay the worker's side and the employer's side. These people would be way better off if they were not forced to be part of this and instead could just stick that money into an RSP. The other groups that will not be thrilled with this are younger workers, and another side that you're never going to hear about is those workers without post-secondary education, because they enter the workforce sooner, so they're paying into CPP sooner, but they die sooner. The numbers are very clear. They pass away faster, so they don't collect as long. So that's not good news. Any of this is not good news for them.
All right. Well, we are out of time. Thank you so much, Michael Campbell.
Thank you, Linda.
And you know what? On the Brexit front, we're going to start seeing results around 4:30 Pacific tomorrow afternoon. So, of course, we'll have coverage throughout the afternoon on CKNW. Now, still ahead, we are giving away tickets to the Janis Joplin musical at the Queenie Theatre in September. If you want to win those tickets, email me, linda@cknw.com, or leave a message on the buzz line, 604-331-BUZZ. And you might want to sing a little Janis for us. Tell us what your favorite song is. When we come back, the empty home tax announced today by Vancouver Mayor Gregor Robertson and your reaction to it.
Vancouver's News, Vancouver's Talk. This is News Talk 980, CKNW.